Okay, so let's recite together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the sublime, the victorious, and the totally self-enlightened one. Hey, welcome everyone. Today we are going to continue with the study of the Patthana, the analytical exposition of the conditions. And today we are going to start with the Nissaya Pacchājāta, which is the number 8 among the 24 conditions. And this Nissaya Paccayāta is translated as the dependence condition. So the Paccaya supports the Paccayupanna, or we can say the Paccayupanna depend on the Paccaya for its arising. Now we will go into a little bit more details into the verses of the Paccayaniddesa, and we will see what are the ultimate realities that are involved in this condition. But of course, many of them, we have already seen it in other conditions, so it should be very easy to understand. Okay, so this Nissaya Paccayāta is compared to a canvas for painting. Now, the canvas is the support for the painting, right? Without a canvas, then we cannot do any kind of painting. So the painting is based on the canvas, right? So the canvas is like a support for the painting. Or it is also traditionally compared to the earth, this Nissaya. While we all beings, plants, human, animals, we all exist on earth, right? So the beings here, we depend on the earth to support us, right? So in the same way, Nissaya conditioned serve as a support. The Paccayupanna, the conditioned states, depend on the Paccaya, which is like the earth, for its existence, no? Okay, so now these Nissaya are also divided into a few different groups. Now the first group we are going to look at is the Purejāta Nissaya. So that means, translated in English, supports by being born together. So we see here, how does the Paccaya support the Paccayupanna? Besides supporting it, they are also born together. So they are also arising together. So for example, what? Let's see the first verse. It says, Chataro kanda arupino anyamanya Nissaya paccayena paccayo. Okay, so here we see Chataro kanda arupino. So that means the 4 kandas, the 4 aggregates, arupino, that are immaterial, no? So that means the mind, no? In other words, the mental aggregates, which is Vijnana, Vedana, Sanya, and Sankhara, right? That means except Rupa, no? So that 4 immaterial aggregates. Now we see the next word, Anyamanya, mutually also. Nissaya paccayena paccayo supports each other, no? So in English, it will be translated as like the 4 immaterial aggregates are mutually related to each other by way of dependence conditioned. So let's see. Now the 4 immaterial aggregates, say we take the chitta or the vijnana to be the paccaya, then all the other cetasikas will be paccayupanna, no? So that means the vijnana supports the cetasikas that arise together at the same time. So therefore here we say it's Purejāta Nissaya, right? It supports and they are also born together, rise at the same time. Now also Anyamanya, again, so mutually. So when we see the Anyamanya, as we already explained in previous conditions, when they are mutual, that means that not only this vijnana can be paccaya, these other cetasikas can also be paccaya. They can flip place, right? Because this vijnana supports the cetasikas. The cetasikas also support the vijnana, so mutually. So in the same way, we can understand that if we take, say, the other, another immaterial aggregate as the Paccaya here, so Vedana, let's say, then Vedana, this Paccaya will support what? The Vijnana and other Cetasikas, also Sanya and also other Sankharas, no? So in the same way, if we take Sanya to be the Paccaya, then it will support the other immaterial aggregates because they are mutually supporting each other, Anyamanya. Or we take Sankhara to be the Paccaya, then this Chitta, Vedana, and Sanya will be the Paccayopana. Or if we take, let's say, two of them here, so if they are Anyamanya mutually, then that means all of them can be the Paccaya and they can be the Paccayopana as well, because both sides, no, they depend on each other. Okay, so this is the first verse of the Pacchājāta Nissaya. So again, in English, the four immaterial aggregates are mutually related to each other by way of dependence condition. So they depend on each other, they support each other. So that's the first verse. That's easy to understand, right? Okay, here. Yeah. Okay, so it's very similar to the Pacchājāta, basically. Now, the next verse is also a Pacchājāta Nissaya. So it says, Chataro Mahabhuta Anyamanya Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So just like the immaterial aggregate, now here the four great elements, the four Mahabhuta, Chataro Mahabhuta, that means earth, water, fire, and air element. So these four great elements, Anyamanya, they are also mutually related to each other by way of dependence condition, Nissaya. Now, this earth element, or this water element, or this air element, or this fire element, they always arise together at the same time, right? In any kind of material property, any rupa, these four must always be there together. So they always bond together. They belong to the Pacchājāta group as well. And also, since all of them are the great elements, they support each other. They are anyamanya, like the tripod, right? Then one depend on the other, and then the other also depend on the other, like that, in the same way, mutually. So therefore, if we take earth element here to be the Paccaya, then it supports the other three. And if we take water, it supports the other three. Or if we take these two, then it supports the other two. In the same way, all of them can be the Paccaya, and all of them can be supported by the other as well. So here I did not do all the graphics here because we already seen this in the previous Paccaya. So as long as you understand that these four, they are bound together, mutually supporting each other, mutually depending on each other, and that's good enough. Okay, so let's go to the next verse. Yes, Sanda?
The previous slide, it was a bit of a surprise for me when you put all the other Cetasika and you refer to them as Sankhara.
Here, no? This one?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, do you remember that when we study the five khandhas, that is Vijnana, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Rupa, remember?
Yeah, I know the five aggregates, yeah.
Yeah, the five aggregates. So here, when we say Sankhara here, because we are talking about Khandha, so where this Sankhara group means the 50 Cetasika other than Vedana and Sanya, no? Remember?
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I did not know that. So thank you.
So Sankhara, of course, Sankhara, this word, it has a lot of meaning depending on context, no? So sometimes in the dependent origination, it means something else, and then Sabbe Sankhara, Anicca, and that also all conditioned things are impermanence. That word Sankhara is also being used, but that context, it means all conditioned things. But here, since we're talking about Khandha, we're talking about Sankhara Khandha directly, meaning the 50 Cetasika other than Vedana and Sanya.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so the second verse, Chatara Mahabhuta Anyamanya Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. For this one, it's okay, right? The four great elements. Yeah, so they mutually related to each other by dependence condition. Let's go to the next verse. This next verse is also Pacchājāta Nissaya. Now it says, Okante kane nama rupam anyamanya Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Okay, Okante kane, that means the rebirth moment, no, in the time of rebirth. Nama rupa, anyamanya, mind and matter mutually relate to each other by way of dependence condition, no? So only in this very special moment, in the Patisandhi moment, rebirth moment, the rebirthed consciousness, Patisandhi Citta, Vipaka Citta, together with its associated Cetasikas, they are related to the rupa that arise together at the same time with the Patisandhi Citta. That we know the three groups of rupa arise, like the body decade, gender decade, and the heart decade. They all arise together at the same time. But since it is anyamanya here, now we have to understand that it refers to the heart decade here, no? Last week in the other condition, in the Pacchājāta condition, we have already talked about this, because this Patisandhi Citta depends on the heart base, this heart base, for it to arise, right? So therefore here is anyamanya also. So Okkantikane, during the time of the rebirth, nama and rupa, mind and matter, specifically this heart base, mutually anyamanya, related, they are mutually related to each other by way of dependence condition. So one depend on the other. So that means that Vipaka, Citta, and Cetasika conditioned this heart base, this matter that rise together. But at the same time, this heart base is also a condition that supports that this Citta depends on for its arising, no? So they both depends on each other in this case. Only in the rebirth moment does this mind and matter arise together at the same time and depend on each other at the same time, no? So in other moments, it does not happen in this way, no? Happen in other way, as we have seen in the Pacchājāta condition. Okay, here, all good? Yeah, okay. Let's go to the next verse then. Now the next verse is still Pacchājāta Nissaya. It says, Citta cetasika dhamma citta samutananam rupanam Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Okay, so let's see. Citta cetasika dhamma. So talking about the Paccaya. Citta cetasika dhamma. So here it is referring to 75 cittas that produce rupa, Only these cittas are being taken here. And what is the Paccayupana? Citta samutananam rupanam. That means citta rupa. Those rupa that arise together with citta. No? So citta rupa, the citta produced rupa here, they are related to each other by way of dependence condition. Now you see here there is no anyamanya in this verse. Because why? Because this citta rupa, this Paccayupana depend on the citta to arise. They are citta produced matter, no? So obviously they depend on the citta to arise. But this citta do not depend on this mind produced matter to arise, right? Only this citta rupa depends on the mind, on the citta for its arising. Therefore, here no anyamanya. So that means those cetasika dhamma and this citta rupa, they are related by way of support by being born together. Of course, they arise together at the same time. When this citta arises, it produces this citta rupa at the same time, no? Now here, why this 75 rupa? That's because there are some rupa that do not produce citta rupa. Remember? The Dvipancha Vijnana, the 10 kinds of 5 senses consciousness, 2 eye consciousness, 2 ear consciousness, etc. The 10 Dvipancha Vijnana, they do not produce citta rupa. Also, which ones do not produce rupa? The 4 arupa vipaka, no? Remember, the arupa citta, the jhana, arupa citta, the vipaka, arupa vipaka, they do not produce any kind of rupa, no? Because they are arupa, no? Now, of course, during the arupa jhana, at that time, that jhana chitta, it does produce chitta rupa at the same time. But what we are talking about is the vipaka, no? The arupa vipaka. Where does this arupa vipaka arise? Which realm? In the arupa realm, no? Only in the arupa realm does this arupa vipaka arise there, no? So since they arise, this kind of resultant consciousness arise in the immaterial realm, so there cannot be any matter there. They do not produce any kind of matter there. There's no rupa at all in the immaterial realm. So therefore, these 4 arupa vipaka, they also do not produce chitta rupa. They actually not just chitta rupa, but any kind of rupa. No, they do not produce. Therefore, only 75 chittas produce chitta rupa. So here specifically, this chitta cetasika dhamma are talking about those chittas that do produce chitta rupa. And since it's chitta and chitta rupa, they also arise together at the same time. So sahajata nissaya in this case supports by being born together. They born together at the same time. Okay, all good, this verse? Yeah, clear? Okay, so let's go to the next one. Now the next verse is Mahabhuta upada rupanam Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Okay, so let's see what is the Paccaya here. Mahabhuta, the 4 great elements. And upada rupa are what? The dependent matter, no? Dependence matter. Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So they are related by way of dependence condition. That means this dependent rupa depend on these 4 great elements for its arising. Yeah. So this 4 great elements, in other words, supports this dependent rupa for it to arise. Again, here we see no anyamanya, right? Because these 4 mahabhuta, they do not depend on the dependent material properties for its arising. Only this dependent material property, upada rupa, depend on the 4 great elements for its arising. So here, Paccaya, it's the 4 great element, and the Paccayupana are the dependent material properties here. But of course, when they arise at the same time. So all these dependent rupa, they cannot arise alone without the 4 great elements. And also, well, in the Kalapa, minimum, there are 8 elements there, no? So they do arise together at the same time. So here it is also sahajata nissaya, dependence condition that arise together. Paccaya, Paccayupana, both arise together. Okay, easy to understand, no? This one also. Yeah. Okay, then let's go to the next verse. The next verse, now we are changing a little bit to Purejāta. That means supports by being born before. So Pure means before, Jata means to born or to arise. So this, in this case, that means Paccaya supports the Paccayupana, but it does not arise together at the same time. It is already there before the Paccayupana arise. So let's see this verse here. What are they? Chakkayatanam chakku vinyana daduya tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Okay, now Purejāta, what must be there before for something else to arise? Chakkayatanam, what is it? That is the ayatana, no? Ayatana, the eye base, right? Eye base. So in ultimate reality, it is pasada rupa, the sensitive matter, eye sensitivity here. So eye sensitivity must be here, must be a conditioned, that must be already there for chakku vinyana to arise, right? Without eye sensitivity, eye consciousness cannot arise. So eye consciousness together with what? Tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam, together with the cetasika that arise, that associate with this chakku vinyana, no? Remember, chakku vinyana dadu, so 2 of them, 1 kusala vipaka, 1 akusala vipaka, right? So this chakkayatanam, that means eye sensitivity, is related to the 2 eye consciousness and its associated cetasika by way of dependence condition. Yeah, Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So that means that this eye consciousness, and of course, together with the cetasikas, depend on the eye sensitivity that already exists before this eye consciousness arises, that already exists for its arising. No, without the eye base, the eye consciousness cannot arise. So eye sensitivity, the eye base must already be there. Therefore, it is Purejāta, Nissaya. Supports or depend on it, no, by way of being born before also here. Okay, so all good? Yes, all right. Okay, so in the same way, if we understand the eye, then we understand all the other senses, no? So the next verse is Sotayatanam Sota Vinyana Daduya Tam Sampayutakanam Chadamanam Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo Sotayatanam. So this ear sensitivity, pasada rupa, no, ear, sensitive matter, is a condition that must already be there for ear consciousness, sota vinyana dadu, tam sampayutakanam chadamanam, the cetasikas that are associated with these two, sota vinyana, ear consciousness, one kusala vipaka, one akusala vipaka, and they are related by way of dependence condition. No, ear consciousness, two ear consciousness depends on the ear base that is already there, that has already been there before it's arising. So it depends on this ear base for its arising. Same way for the next sense, Ganda yatanam, ganda vinyana daduya, tam sampayutakanam chadamanam, Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Same way. Nose consciousness, two nose consciousness together with its associated cetasika depends on the nose sensitivity that is already there for its arising, right? Okay, then we go to the next sense, jivayatanam, tongue sensitive matter here, pasada rupa. Jiva vinyana daduya tam sampayutakanam chadamanam Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. The two tongue sensitivity depends on the tongue sensitivity that is already there for its arising, right? So Purejāta Nissaya. Okay, in the same way, kaya yatanam, also same, no, for the body sensitivity. Kaya yatanam, kaya vinyana daduya, tam sampayutakanam chadamanam, Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. The two body consciousness together with its associated cetasika depends on the body sensitivity that already exists for its arising, no, for its existence, no. So therefore, they are related also by dependence condition here. Now here also, you see in these five senses, there is also no anyamanya, no. Or anyamanya only arise within the Sahajata group because they are mutual, they are Sahajata, mutually depend on each other. But here, this one, they are born before, so it does not apply to these cases, right? Okay, so this Purejāta Nissaya. Let's go to one more. Purejāta Nissaya. So it says, Yam rupam Nissaya, manodaducha, manovinyana daducha votanti. What does it mean here? Yam rupam here. Although it's only say that matter, Yam rupam, it means that matter, but it refers to the hadaya watu actually. So heart base, right? Yam rupam Nissaya, depending on this hadaya watu, depending on the heart base. Manodadu cha manovinyana dadu cha watanti. Manodadu, what is manodadu? Still remember? Three types of consciousness, no? Manodadu. And then manovinyana dadu, that means all the other consciousness except the Dvipancha Vinyana here. So basically we can say all kinds of consciousness except the 10 types of the five sense consciousness. Why? Because five sense consciousness depends on its correspondent base to arise, no? Eye consciousness depends on eye base. They do not depend on heart base, right? Ear consciousness depend on ear base. So here we have to take out all the five sense consciousness here. So those are the chittas or the other chittas. They do depend on heart base for its arising. So the next verse goes, Tam rupam mano dadu yacha, mano vinyana dadu yacha, tam sampayutakanancha dhammanam Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So tam rupam, this rupa meaning the Hadayawatu, mano dadu ya, cha mano vinyana dadu ya cha tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam. Together, the mano dadu and mano vinyana dadu together with its associated cetasikas are related by way of dependence condition. Dependence condition. Now here we are not talking about the Patisandhi moment. We're talking about lifetime, during lifetime. Because during lifetime, Mano Dadu and Mano Vinyana Dadu, they depend on the heart base that has already arisen before this chitta arise. Only at the time of Patisandhi, the heart base by which the Patisandhi chitta depends on, and the Patisandhi chitta, only at that moment they arise together. During lifetime, heart base, it's something that is already there. And then those chitta that arise at this moment depend on the heart base that has already arisen earlier than the chitta. Yeah. So this dependence condition here is Purejāta. It's born before. This heart base must already be there, must already exist to support the chitta that is going to arise. Okay? Clear? Yeah? Okay. So now we see that this Nissaya, basically we are talking about how mind and matter arise. How are they related to each other? Now you will see that in these 24 conditions, we always talk about the ultimate reality here. So the Paccaya and the Paccayupana, they must always be ultimate reality, no? So what are ultimate realities? They are but mind and matter, right? There is nothing else. Of course, Nibbana is also there, but Nibbana, it's the object, no, for Magga and Phala chittas, no, so it goes to the Aramana Paccaya appears there. But for other conditions, it's only about mind and matter, because that's only what is here, what exists. It's only in ultimate reality, only mind and matter. So you will find in the Paccaya and the Paccayupana always it's which kind of mind and which kind of matter, how are they related to each other, right? Okay, now in the next one, which is the Upanissaya, the intense support, we will find a little bit more, a wider lens, we can say, then you will find that it will talk about a little bit more, even something that is not just the ultimate reality. Yes, Edith?
Just a clarification between the two sentences, basically. So the first one is referring dependent condition from the heart base and the vijnana, the mano dhatu and the mano vijnana. So both refers to the chittas, right? I need clarification on the second one, where I guess it's saying that heart base, but also the consciousnesses, so the chittas, are giving dependence to the cetasikas. Is it the cetasikas it's referring to, the second sentence?
Actually, the two sentences, they are talking about the same thing, but in a different way. So let's say it rephrased it. Yeah. Now you see it says, the first phrase, it says yam rupam, that rupa, yes. This rupa, Nissaya. You see in the previous one, it always goes in this format, no? Nissaya Paccayena Paccayo, no? So this is actually just a rephrase, it's a different way of saying, but these two phrases we can understand that they have the same meaning, but spoken in a different way. So this in English it will be depending on this metta, yam rupam Nissaya. Depending on this matter, mano dhatu and mano vijnana dhatu arise. right? Of course, when we say Manodhatu and Manovinyana dhatu arise, we understand that they always arise together with the Cetasikas. It cannot be Chitta alone, yeah? So here it's included. So it's a rephrase. In English, it would be depending on this matter, mind element and mind consciousness element arise. Right? Then the next phrase will be tam rupam. That matter is related to Manodhatu and Manovinyana dhatu and its associated Cetasika by way of dependence condition. So here,
so it's a rephrase only.
yeah, it's a rephrase. So this here it says clearly that it is the Nissaya Paccayana Paccayo, no? So it's related by way of dependence condition. But here it says that depending on this matter, this and this arise.
Yes, super clear. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other question up to here? All good? Yeah, all right. So up to here, we have seen all the verses in the Nissaya Paccayo, and it's not difficult to understand. So we understand that the Paccaya is something that the Paccayupanna depends on for its arising. No? So in this case, Vijnana depends on the different bases that were already there, they already exist before this Vijnana arise, no? So this is the Purejāta Nissaya, and then there is another category we just saw, the Sahajata Paccaya, that Paccaya, Paccayupanna arise together at the same time. Now, since we're talking about Purejāta, I'd like to now jump to the Purejāta Paccaya also. Now, actually, according to the order that it is given, the next one is Upanissaya Paccayo. So that's the intense support condition, right? But this one is a little bit longer, so I will leave it to a little bit later, and I will just jump to the next one, which is the Purejāta Paccaya first, because we have already been talking about the Purejāta right now. So this will be very easy to understand, and we can go through a little bit quickly. So this is a pre-nascence condition. Now later we'll go back to the number 9, the Upanissaya. Now Purejāta Paccayo, the pre-nascence condition here, that means the Paccaya supports the Paccayupanna by existing before it. So by being there already, by being there for it. So that's called the pre-nascence condition, no? Now, the example being given by ancient teachers are the sun and the moon. So Purejāta here means that something that has already arisen before, no, it exists before, no, and while the Paccayupanna arise, these things that it has already arisen are still staying there to support it. So, for example, the sun or the moon exist before human being exist. While humans are here, the sun and the moon are still here to support our existence. No, so we depend on the sun, we depend on the moon. No, okay. Now, in this Purejāta, it is also divided into different categories. The first one is called the Votu Purejāta, which we can understand to be the same as the Purejāta Nissaya, actually. They are a little bit like very similar here. They're basically the same. Ultimate realities will come up. Now it says pre-exist before as what? As the base, as the Votu. Now the verse is very similar. Chakayatanam chaku vinyana daduyatam sabitakanam chadamanam Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. Chakayatanam, eye sensitivity, exist before the chaku vinyana and its associated Cetasika. No, it supports this chaku vinyana and its associated Cetasika by existing before it, no, as a base for its arising. So basically, it's the same. Yeah. So we understand that these 24 conditions, they also comes in a group, right? So for example, this Purejāta and the Nissaya, the support or the dependence, they are of the same group. So you see here, same elements appeared in the Paccaya and the Paccayupanna side. So, okay, so here without explaining again, you already understand, right? In other words, this two-eye consciousness is supported by the eye base or the eye sensitivity, which is already there before it's arising. Yeah, basically same thing, same idea. So here it's pre-exist. It supports by pre-exist there as a base for the eye consciousness to arise. Yes. Okay. So in the same way we understand I, will understand also Sota Vijnana also, the other basis is in the same way. Yeah. So Sota Yatanam, Sota Vijnana Daduya, Tam Sampayutakanam Cha Dhammanam, Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. So this ear sensitivity and this ear consciousness works in the same way. So ear consciousness depends on the ear sensitivity that exists already before it. No, so this ear sensitivity serves as a base that exists before the ear consciousness. In that way, okay. So if we understand this, we understand also the other senses. It's the same. Ganda yatanam, ganda vijnana daduya, tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam, Purejāta paccayena paccayo. So no sensitivity must already exist there before in order to support the later arising nose consciousness. Okay, in the same way, tongue consciousness, jiva yatanam, jiva vijnana daduya, tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam, Purejāta paccayena paccayo. So tongue sensitivity must exist before for the arising of the tongue consciousness, right? Then body consciousness, same way. Kaya yatanam, kaya vijnana daduya, tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam, Purejāta paccayena paccayo. So this also Purejāta, this also exists before, right? Okay, the next one. Now, the next one, we come to another group. Now, the another group is called the Aramana Purejāta. So that means pre-exist before, but now not as a base, but as the object, So let's see what is the first verse here. The verse says, Rupayatanam Chakku Vijnana Daduya Tam Sampayutakanam Cha Dhammanam Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. So Rupayatanam, the visible object, and the Paccayupana is the two Chakku Vijnana, together with its associated Cetasika. They all this object also must also be Purejāta, must also exist before. No, so here in this verse, what does it actually wants to say? It wants to say that in order for eye consciousness to arise, there must be something that exists before it. And what are they? So far we have seen eye base, no, eye sensitivity. Without eye sensitivity, eye consciousness cannot arise. But only eye sensitivity is not good enough. It's only one condition. Then what else need to be there before? The object, no, visible object. If there is nothing to see, eye consciousness also cannot arise. So these two serve as a condition for eye consciousness together with this associated Cetasika to arise. So that's the main point that it wants to say here, no? So in the same way, for other senses, the other object, its correspondent object, will have to be there before that sense consciousness can arise. No, so Sadayatanam, sound base, sound object. Sota Vijnana Daduya, the two ear consciousness, Kusala Vipaka, Tam Sampayutakanam Cha Dhammanam, together with its associated Cetasika. Purejāta paccayena paccayo. Sound must exist before, must already be there in order for the sound ear consciousness to arise, right? Same way. Then also the other senses, it goes on. Gandayatanam, smell. Ganna vijnana daduya tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam. Purejāta paccayena paccayo. The smell must already exist before the nose consciousness can arise, right? They're related to each other by way of pre-nascence, no, pre-nascence condition exist before pre-nascence condition. In the same way, rasayatanam, taste object. Jiva Vijnana Daduya, Tam consciousness, Tam Sampayutakanam cha Dhammanam, and its associated Cetasika are also related by way of pre-existent condition. Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. Okay, so in the same way, Purejātanam, tangible object, tangible base, Kaya Vijnana Daduya, Tam Sampayutakanam cha Dhammanam, Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. So this tangible object must already exist before the rising of the Kaya Vijnana, no? So without something to touch, then body consciousness cannot arise. Yeah? Okay, so let's go to the next one. It says, Rupayatanam, Sadayatanam, Gandhayatanam, Rasayatanam, Potavayatanam. What are these? Rupayatanam, Sadayatanam, Gandhayatanam, Rasayatanam, Potavayatanam. All the objects here, no? 5 sense objects. Manodhaduya tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam. Manodhadu. What are manodhadu? The 5 sense averting consciousness and 2 receiving consciousness, no? Mind element manodhadu. Tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam and its associated cetasika are also related to each other by way of what? Pre-existence, no? The pre-existence or pre-nascence condition, no? Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. You remember that mano, dhatu, these 3 kinds of chitta only arise in the 5 sense door mental process, remember? In the mind door mental process, the 5 sense averting consciousness is not necessary because it's only mind, no need to have 5 sense averting consciousness, and there is also no need for receiving consciousness and investigating consciousness. No, those do not arise. No, so these ones only arise in the 5 sense door process. So what kind of object do they take? They only take the 5 sense object, obviously. These 5 sense objects must already be there in order for these 3 types of consciousness to arise. So here, we are talking about the Purejāta, but in the group of asaramana. It pre-exists before as what? As the object, not as the base. No? So meaning we must have the base, we must have the object that already exists in order for the consciousness to arise. In simple words, if we understand that much, that's good enough. Okay, then let's go to the last verse here. Then it says again, Yam Rupam Nissaya Manodhadu cha Manovinyana Dhadu cha Vatanti. Okay, depending on this matter Yam Rupam is that means Hadayawatu, the heart base, Manodhadu and Manovinyana Dhadu, so mind element and mind consciousness element, they arise. So this consciousness, again, it depends on the heart base that already exist for its existence, no? So they are Purejāta by way of being a base, no? So this heart base exists before, and it is a base for these other types of consciousness to arise. The next verse, Tam rupam manodhaduya tam sampayutakanam cha dhammanam Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. Now this manodhadu, the 5 sense averting consciousness and the 2 receiving consciousness and its associated cetasika, although they take the 5 sense object as object, but what are their bases? They base on heart base, no? They base on heart base to arise. Right? So therefore, here, they also need this heart base to exist there already for them to arise. So for this manodhadu, it needs the heart base, hadayawatu, and it needs the 5 sense object, the object that is going to take, right, for its arising. So it one base and one object, right? Now, for I consciousness to arise, it needs the I base and it needs the visible object, right? So it comes in pair, no? So any chitta, when it arises for a 5 aggregate being, it always needs a base as well as an object for any chitta to arise, right? So for manodhadu here, we need the heart base as the Vatu Purejāta. Yes, Edith?
Can we go back to the last slide?
Yes.
previous one. Yes, this one.
Mm-hmm.
It says Nissaya and not Purejāta. Young Rupang, and it says Nissaya. Should it be Purejāta?
No, because here it says depending on this matter, Manodhatu and Manoviññāna dhatu arise. And then later it says that tam rupam manodhatu tam sampayutakanam cha dhamanam Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. And then it will again come Manoviññāna dhatuya tam sampayutakanam cha dhamanam Kentikale Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. Kentikale na Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. Let's go to this phrase, then you will understand. Okay. In the first one, that when Edith asked the question, it says that this chitta, Manodhatu and Manoviññāna dhatu, both of them, depending on this heart base, this Manodhatu and Manoviññāna dhatu arise as like an introduction. Then later we'll come into details. So depending on heart base, Manodhatu, Manoviññāna dhatu arise. Then in detail, Manodhatu, these three, they always depend on heart base that exists before for its arising. Right? That's why Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo here, yeah? All the time, yeah? Heart base must already be there for this Manodhatu, these three to arise. Now, how about Manoviññāna dhatu? That means all the other chittas except the Dvipanchaviññāna and the three Manodhatu, right? Now it says here, Manoviññāna dhatu tam sampayutakanam cha dhamanam, together with associated cetasika, Kentikare Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. Kentikare means sometimes. Sometimes Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. Sometimes they are related by way of pre-existing conditions. So sometimes this hadaya will do exist before. So when does it exist before? That's during lifetime, no? During lifetime, whatever other chittas or whatever other Manoviññāna dhatu arise depends on a heart base that already exists, right? So that must be Purejāta, that must be pre-nascence. But Kentikare na Purejāta Paccayena Paccayo. That means sometimes it is not pre-existence. When? Patisandhi time. Patisandhi time is what? Sahajata, right? Yeah, because this Manoviññāna dhatu can be also, some of them can be Patisandhi chitta also. It can perform the Patisandhi function, right? So when it is the case of Patisandhi, it is Sahajata. So it is not Purejāta. But during lifetime, so Kentikale meaning sometimes, it is Purejāta. Therefore, in the first slide as the introduction, when Edith asked the question, it is like an introduction saying that this kind of Manodhatu and Manoviññāna dhatu, depending on heart base, they arise, but they are not always Purejāta. Sometimes Purejāta, sometimes not Purejāta. So lifetime and Patisandhi time. Yeah, is that clear, Edith?
It is, thank you.
Okay, yeah, how about the others? All good? Yeah, all right. Okay, now since we're talking about this timing, we've already seen Paccaya and Paccayupana arise together at the same time, Sahajata. Sometimes Paccaya arise before in order to support the Paccayupana. That's Purejāta, exists pre-existence, no? Now, there is something very interesting that is called Pacchājāta. That means the Paccaya arise after the Paccayupana. In a very mundane day-to-day example for us to understand this relationship, we can imagine that this girl here, she cannot sleep all night because she's very excited that she's going to Paris tomorrow. Yeah, so going to Paris does not exist yet. She's not going yet. No, she's going tomorrow. But now, because of something that has not yet arisen, she cannot sleep all night. Right? So the reason or the condition for what is happening right now arise later than what is already happening right now. Yeah. So in that sense, that's the condition arise later than what is already here. In the ancient examples being given by teacher, it is said that there is a type of vultures that they do not feed their young babies. So they have the babies and then the parents just go away and then the babies just stay there and nobody feed them. But these young birds, they have the expectation that their parents will bring them food and water. No? Because of their expectation or because of this mind waiting for the parents to come, that kind of mind sustained their life until they can fly. Then they need to fly and go to find their own food, but they don't die before that. No, so they are not sustained by the food, but they are sustained by the cetana accompanying that longing. So let's see in ultimate reality what is the paccaya and what is the paccayupanna. Okay, supports by arising later, Pacchājāta. Now the verse says, Pacchājāta citta cittasika dhamma Purejāta sa imasa kayasa Pacchājāta paccayena paccayo. So that means Pacchājāta, citta, and cittasika, those are the citta and cittasika that arise later. Supports, what does it support? It supports the Purejāta sa, Purejāta, those that already arisen, imasa kayasa, this present body. Paccājāta paccayena paccayo. Those citta and cittasika that arise later supports this matter, this body, this kaya that already exists. We might all have this experience that sometimes we're so excited about something, we are so eager in doing something, we are working and working, and then we forget to eat. Yes, sometimes. So because of those kind of mind, strong mind, those kind of mind sustain this body that is already here. They can be any kind of rupa that are produced by karma or produced by citta, produced by udu or produced by nutriment. So it doesn't matter. But those cittas that arise later, sustained those rupa that already existed before this citta. So this is the Pacchājāta condition. Okay? We'll take a break here, and coming back, we will go back to number 9, the Upanissaya. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So far, all good? Yeah, okay. So let's go to the Upanissaya. Upanissaya Paccayo is translated as the intense support condition. And this is a very interesting condition, and it is actually the biggest, the condition that encompassed the widest scope or range, let's say. Now, when we go into details, you will find out how and why. Under this condition, the paccaya gives a foundational support to the paccayupanna. So it is even wider than the Nissaya. It gives fundamental support, let's say. So the example that is given is like rain. When there is rain, then trees can grow, and beings can get water to drink. So we all depend on rain for our existence or our survival. So Upanissaya is something like rain. It is very powerful, and it is a very, very strong foundational support for the Paccayupana. Now, this Upanissaya, it is also divided into different groups. So one of them is called an Aramana Upanissaya. So that means that the Paccaya gives foundational support to the Paccayupana by being its object. That's the first one. And then there is another one that is called Anantara Upanissaya. That means Paccaya gives foundational support to Paccayupana by being adjunct to it, by being just right next to it, very close to it. Then there is one that is called Pacchājāta Upanissaya. Paccaya gives foundational support to the Paccayupana by being the law of nature. So this Pacchājāta Upanissaya is a very wide, one. Now I'll give you some examples when we read the verse in the Paccayaniddesa, and we'll understand more. Let's go to the first verse. The first verse goes, Purima Purima Kusala Dhammam Pachimanam Pachimanam Kusalanam Dhammanam Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So Purima Purima Kusala Dhamma, that means a previous Kusala Dhamma can be very foundational support for what? For a later Kusala Dhamma to arise. So how? A previous Kusala Dhamma can become a very intensive support, very foundational support for later Kusala to arise. There are in a few ways. So let's see the first example of how this can happen. Say, when we did something very good before, and then at this moment we remember it. We remember some kind of kusala that we have done previously, and now we become very happy. We rejoice in the kusala that we have done previously. So that previous kusala becomes a very strong support for the present kusala to arise, right? So this one is called, in this example, it is called the Aramanupanissaya. So that means a previous kusala gives a foundational support for the present kusala to arise by being its object, right? Because the person is right now taking the previous kusala as its object in the mind and thinking about that, a lot of kusala at this moment arise. So therefore, it is supported in this way by being previous kusala being an object for the present kusala. Okay, so that is the first way. Now another one is like the one we have seen in the Anantara Paccayo. It gives foundational support by being adjunct, being just right next to it. Purima Purima Kusala Dhamma Pachimanam Pachimana Kusalanam Dhammanam Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So in the mental process, this javana, by being just right next to it, it gives a very foundational support for the next kusala to arise. So this one is also a intense support for the next kusala to arise. So here, this example is called Anantaru Upanissaya, like Anantara Paccaya. Now there is another one that is the Pacchājāta Upanissaya. So it gives foundational support by nature. If we are used to doing some kind of kusala of helping others or doing some donation, etc., then because of this previous kusala that we have done, now it is easier for us to do the same type of kusala again. If we already helped someone before, then it is easier for us to help again because we have already done it before, and sometimes it becomes like a habit. We have done it so many times, and so it's easier to do it again and again. So this previous support, when it is done strongly or powerfully, wholeheartedly, or like a lot of times like that, then this kusala will become a very strong support for later kusala to arise. So this is also a very important aspect of this condition, which is very useful for our life. The next one is says, Purima Purima Kusala Dhamma Pachimanam Pachimanam Akusalanam Dhammanam Kesanchi Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Now you see, a previous kusala dhamma becomes a foundational support, strong support for a later akusala to arise. And here it says Kesanchi. This is also a very important word. Kesanchi means not immediately. not immediately. So that means some kind of kusala that is previously done becomes a very foundational support for a later akusala to arise. How? Let's see an example. When we have done something very good, let's say we gave a donation, we give something to someone that needed something, and then yesterday, and then today we found out that, oh no, I just gave away something that I need, and then now I regret the kusala that I have done previously. Taking that kusala as object, now akusala, this regret arises. Or it can also be like the person becomes so proud because I have done something good. Now I have done a lot of donation. My sila is very good or something. So taking that kusala as object, now we become proud. And so that kusala, previous kusala that we have done, now we take this as an object and then we become proud. So akusala arises in the mind. So this is how previous kusala can be a strong support for present akusala to arise, right? But of course, not only just dana, it can also be sila, can be meditation practice, or can even be jhana. You know, someone attain jhana and taking that jhana as the object and then become very proud of it. That's also akusala can arise, right? So this is the case when it is taken as an object. So aramana Upanissaya. Do you remember the mental process in the jhavana? Akusala can never follow akusala, right? Yeah, so therefore it says kesanchi, that means not immediately, not right after. So anantaru Upanissaya here, anantara is not possible in this case, but it can work as Paccājāta Upanissaya also. How? It gives foundational support by nature. How? For example, a person that meditates a lot, has very good sila. He or she may think that, oh, I'm a meditator, I practice sila, I am so good. She thinks that all these other people, they don't know about the Dhamma. They just go to party and they just waste their life. They don't know anything. This kind of mind is akusala, right? How she's thinking at this moment. So because of the goodness that she has done, it supported her to have this kind of attitude, to look down on others or to think that she is better. In this case, this is akusala. Now you may say that, then what is the difference between taking the object, right? Now taking object. The difference here is the person, when she is looking down on others, at that moment, she's not taking her own kusala as object. She's taking the other person as object and having dosa, right? She's not having dosa towards her kusala that she has done. So that is not the object that she's taking. The object is the other person, right? Therefore, based on the good thing that she has done, which is really good, meditation is good, sila is good, nothing wrong about it. But because of that, then she thinks she is better than the others. And now she takes the other person as an object and have dosa towards them. So therefore, it is not, the kusala here is not as an object, but it is just a foundational support, a base for her to develop this kind of wrong ideas, no? So that's called a Paccājāta Upanissaya in this case. Yeah, okay, let's go to the next verse. Let's see. Purima kusala dhamma patimana abhyagatanam dhammanam Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So here, previous kusala dhamma is a foundational support for a later abhyagata, can be vipaka, can be kriya, no? Now here we just take vipaka as an example. So magga, it's a very, very strong kusala that gives a very foundational support for phala to arise. And phala is a vipaka, no? So magga is kusala and phala is vipaka. So a previous kusala becomes a very strong foundational support for a later abhyagata dhamma to arise. So magga and phala, this can be one example. There can be more different examples that we can think about it. And here I'll just show examples for us to understand the verse. Okay. All right, let's go to the next verse. Purima akusala dhamma pachimanam akusalanam dhammanam Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So purima akusala, previous akusala, becomes a foundational support for later akusala to arise. So here we can understand it in the same way as the kusala, very similar. For example, when we remember or we take as an object some akusala that we have done previously, and then now we regret about it, or we are angry or about ourselves, or we are sad or anything. So previous akusala that we have done, now thinking about it, taking that as an object, now more akusala arise in the mind. So this kind of example, it's the Aramanu Upanissaya. The Paccaya gives foundational support by being the object of it, no? Okay, so akusala and akusala. And in the Anantara Upanissaya, in the same way, previous akusala dhamma give foundational support to the next akusala mind to arise in the same way. And this one is by being just right next to it, very close to it, Anantara Upanissaya. And how about the Pacchājāta Upanissaya here? If we have done some akusala previously, then it is easy for us to do it again, right? So this akusala that we have done before supports, give a strong foundational support for us to repeat that same kind of akusala again and again. Now, in this example, if we have tried some drugs before, then it's easy for us to continue or to take more, no, or alcohol in the same way. We can understand, but not just only this. How about if we get irritated or get angry easily? If we have done that a lot of time, a lot of practice, then that kind of tendency will also become a strong foundational support for us to later have this kind of akusala again. So this is very, very important. We have to know that whatever habit we do or whatever things that always arise in the mind, we must be very careful, because this is a very, very strong Upanissaya for this kind of same behavior or same kind of thoughts to arise again and again in the mind, which is very dangerous. So this Upanissaya is very strong condition. Or in the kusala side as well, when we develop mindfulness again and again and again, it's easier for this mindfulness to arise again and again. So in the same way, metta, karuna, and all the good things and all the bad things as well. Okay, so let's go to the next verse. Purima akusala dhamma pachimana kusalanam dhammanam kesanchi upanissaya paccayena paccayo. So previous akusala can become a strong foundational support for later kusala to arise. How? Kesanchi, no, not immediately. Okay, so as an example, if we are contemplating and then we take an akusala that we have done previously as an object, and then we understand that doing that is not good, and we've decided not to do that again, then now kusala might arise in us at this present moment. We took this previous akusala as an object, thinking about it, contemplating on it, and kusala arise at this moment, wisdom arise at this moment. So this previous akusala become a very strong foundational support for the present kusala to arise, right? Okay, now another example. Sometimes it does not have to be something that we have done previously. Say we are contemplating on the dependent origination, and then we take avijja as object, and we contemplate on avijja, on this ultimate reality. No, avijja is an akusala, no? So in ultimate reality, so we are taking the akusala, ultimate reality, as the object, contemplating on it, and the kusala or wisdom arise in the mind. So this is also a kind of Upanissaya, or taking Aramanu Upanissaya, no? By taking akusala as object, then it gives a foundational support for later kusala to arise, no? So that's also can be another example. But of course, not immediately one after the other, no? Okay. Until here, all good? Yes.
Avijja is ultimate reality, and how is that akusala?
Avijja itself, avijja is ignorance, no? That's moha.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Thank
if we contemplate on avijja meaning moha in ultimate reality, or we contemplate on dosa, if we contemplate on lobha, that's ultimate reality, it's akusala, no? Not the contemplation is not akusala. The cetasika itself is akusala.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Let's go to the next verse. Purima akusala dhamma patimanam abhyagatanam dhammanam Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So previous akusala dhamma can become a foundational support for later abhyagata dhamma. Here, let's say, we take an example, vipaka citta can arise. So how? For example, in the mental process, Anantarupa Nissaya, the last akusala jhavana can become a strong support for the tadaramana to arise. Now, tadaramana is a vipaka citta, right? So in this case, Anantarupa Nissaya is also possible. Let's go to the next verse. Purima abhyagata dhamma patimanam abhyagatanam dhammanam Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So previous kriya give foundational support to the later kriya to arise. So we can also see this in the mental process, in the jhavana, when an arahat would do something good, then there is no kusala anymore. Instead, there are kriya citta, no? So this kriya citta also give foundational support for the next kriya citta to arise. So we can also understand an example like this. Okay, next verse. It says, Purima abhyagata dhamma patimanam kusalanam dhammanam Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So previous abhyagata dhamma become a strong foundational support for later kusala dhamma to arise. How? Let's say, taking nibbana as an object, nibbana itself is abhyagata, no? It's neither kusala nor akusala, right? So taking nibbana as an object, magga citta arise. Magga citta arise. So this can be a aramanu upanissaya. Right? And let's see the next one. It says purima abhyagata dhamma patimanam akusalanam dhammanam Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. So some previous abhyagata dhamma, something that already exists, becomes a strong foundational support for akusala to arise. How? For example, by taking a visible object, which is an abhyagata, a visible object, then akusala citta arise in the mind. Rupa itself is the object that gives foundational support for akusala mind to arise. Okay, so that can be one example. Okay, so up to here, then we have seen some different examples how kusala can support akusala, or how akusala can support kusala, and also kusala support kusala, akusala support akusala, no? From now on, the next verse, it will be even a little bit wider. Let's see what can give foundational support. It says, Udu bojanampi Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Udu, remember udu, weather, no? Bojanam means food. So weather and food are also related to beings by intensive or foundational support. So it is very easy to understand. If the weather is good, if the food is good, it gives a very intensive foundational support to beings. So depending on the weather, depending on the food we take, our environment basically is also very important. Now the next one is also very, very interesting. It says, Pugalo pi Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Pugalo means beings, people. Other people also give a strong, very strong foundational support to us. So if we have good people, we're surrounded by good people, then we will have a good influence also, no? Depending on our friends, it influences us a lot. Right? So here in this Upanissaya, in this Paccayaniddesa, so it also says that Pugalo, beings are very important. So we have to take care of who are we surrounded by? What kind of people are we surrounded by? because this is a very strong, very powerful foundational support also. Okay, then the next verse also important. It says, Senasanampi Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo. Senasanam means the place where we live, our living place. So our home, our living place. Imagine like the place we live, it affects us a lot. So this is also very, very important, our environment. Senasanampi. Senasanam, our lodging place. Upanissaya Paccayena Paccayo, also very important. So now we see in this Upanissaya, it's much wider than the other conditions, because it includes, let's say, the weather, the food, and the beings that we are surrounded by, and also our environment, or living environment is also included here. Okay, so Upanissaya, we have three. It's divided into three groups. The Pacchājāta Upanissaya, Paccaya gives foundational support by nature. Like the example that was given earlier was like, if we do a lot of good things, we have this habit of doing good, then it's easier for us to do good later on. Or if we have habit to do akusala, or we get angry, or that we have lobha, like very strong craving for something, then this craving also will support later craving to arise. In that way, Pacchājāta Upanissaya. Then the weather and then the people, living place, and food, all those are also included in the Pacchājāta Upanissaya. Then we have Aramana Upanissaya. The Paccaya gives foundational support to Paccayopana by being its object, right? And then we have Anantara Upanissaya, that is Paccaya gives very strong support to Paccayopana by just being right next to it, being very close to it. So this Upanissaya condition is the widest one in all the 24, among all 24 conditions. So I think it's more or less enough for today. We'll leave the other conditions for next time. So if you have no question, let's share merits and also dedicate our efforts for the attainment of Magaphala Jnana, and we will continue next time. Okay? Right, so let's recite together. Itam no punyam nibbanasa paccayo hotu. Itam no punyam nibbanasa paccayo hotu. Itam no punyam nibbanasa paccayo hotu. Itam no punyam sabasatanam bhajima. Itam no punyam sabasatanam bhajima. Itam no punyam sabasatanam bhajima. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you next week.